Miles from town, nestled in ancient woods, stood the cabin. Pictures online promised peace. John and Emily and their teenage daughter Lily craved it. Their city lives were chaotic. This getaway was their escape. The cabin was charming. Sunlight streamed through large windows. The air smelled of pine and damp earth. Laughter filled the space as they unpacked. This was exactly what they needed. That first evening, they built a fire. John cooked dinner while Emily and Lily explored the woods nearby. The sun dipped below the trees, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. They ate on the porch, the silence broken only by the crackling fire. Later that night, Emily woke with a start. She could have sworn she heard a whisper. It seemed to come from the living room. John slept soundly beside her. She dismissed it as a dream. The next morning, Lily couldn't find her hairbrush. She was sure she'd left it on the bathroom counter. They searched the cabin, but it was gone.
"Don't be careless," John chided, but Lily could tell something wasn't right.
That afternoon, while exploring the attic, John stumbled upon an old diary. The pages were brittle and yellowed. The handwriting was spidery and faded. He read a chilling entry about a young girl who had lived in the cabin. She wrote of strange noises and a feeling of being watched. As evening descended, the wind picked up. The trees outside swayed violently, their branches scraping against the roof. The power flickered and died, plunging the cabin into darkness. Emily lit candles, their flames casting dancing shadows on the walls. A cold draft swept through the cabin. Emily felt a chill run down her spine. The air grew heavy, charged with an unseen energy. Lily clutched her father's arm.
"I want to go home," she whispered, her voice trembling.
John tried to stay calm.
"It's just an old cabin," he said, his voice lacking conviction. "Probably just some drafts."
But even he couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. That night, sleep was impossible. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of leaves outside sent shivers down their spines. Then, in the dead of night, they heard it. A blood-curdling scream. It came from Lily's room. Section 4, A Night of Terror. John burst into Lily's room, his heart pounding in his chest. Lily was sitting up in bed, her eyes wide with terror. "Something touched me," she cried, her voice thick with fear. But the room was empty. The rest of the night was a blur of fear and adrenaline. They huddled together in the living room, too afraid to be alone. Strange noises echoed through the cabin. Whispers seemed to slither from the walls. Shadows danced in the flickering candlelight. As dawn approached, the activity subsided. John looked at his family, their faces pale and drawn. "We're leaving," he said, his voice firm. They packed their bags quickly, their hands shaking with a mixture of exhaustion and terror. Section 5, Fleeing into the Storm. Outside, the storm raged on. Rain lashed down and the wind howled like a banshee. John struggled to load their luggage into the car, the wind whipping his hair around his face. "We need to get out of here," he yelled over the storm. As they piled into the car, John noticed something strange. The diary he had found in the attic was lying open on the dashboard. He could have sworn he had left it in the cabin. He reached out to close it, but his hand froze. The handwriting was different. It was fresh, as if written moments ago. Fear coiled in his stomach like a serpent. He slammed the diary shut and started the car. As he pulled away from the cabin, he looked in the rearview mirror. He could have sworn he saw a figure standing on the porch, its features obscured by the rain and the darkness. But when he looked again, it was gone. Section 6, The Vanishing. They drove through the storm, the rain beating down on the roof of the car like 1,000 tiny hammers. John couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched, that something was following them. He glanced at Emily, her face pale and drawn, her eyes fixed on the road ahead. She was terrified. Finally, as the first rays of dawn broke through the clouds, they reached the highway. John pulled into a gas station, his body trembling with exhaustion and relief. He got out of the car and took a deep breath of fresh air. The storm had passed. He turned back to the car, but it was empty. Emily and Lily were gone. He spun around, his heart pounding in his chest. "Emily! Lily!" he called out, his voice echoing in the stillness of the morning. But there was no answer. John searched for hours, but his family was nowhere to be found. The police searched the area, but they found no trace of Emily or Lily. They were simply gone, vanished without a trace. And as the days turned into weeks, John was left with the chilling realization that his family was gone, and the secrets of the cabin in the woods went with them.